Imagine a child born into a world so wired they never learn to hear silence. Screens glow before lullabies. Notifications become their lull. Ask them a question. Why? And you'll hear a pause, not thinking. We live in the age of constant stimulus, not constant thought. This isn't a dystopia. It's our doing. We handed distraction to innocence. We gave comfort in place of challenge. And now, the soft death of thinking begins. We live amidst voices louder than reasoning. The roar of content drowns the whisper of introspection. We call it progress, but what if it's regression? What if the most connected generation is also the most disconnected from itself? We are raising minds starved of depth, feeding them surface and blaming them when they collapse. When our creation falters, we panic without looking in the mirror. They can recite facts, they repeat slogans, they speak virally, not wisely. We celebrate that. We make it normal. We mistake speed for intelligence. We mistake popularity for insight. But intelligence is slow. Wisdom is quiet. We've turned thinking into noise. And now we wonder why silence terrifies them. The hooks are everywhere, trending challenges, viral opinions. But where's the hook to pause? Reflect, ask a hard question. We never gave them one. We gave them applause instead of discomfort, likes instead of questions, screens instead of silence. And now that trade shows its cost. The most subtle rebellion is the one nobody notices. We celebrate multitasking. We call it efficiency. But what if it's fragmentation? What if each task carves a slit in the mind? We can't think deeply when we're always splitting attention. They juggle dozens of tabs, none of them with depth. We train them to do everything superficially. And then we ask, why can't they concentrate? Because we never taught them to rest the mind. The world they inherit is built on noise. They've never known unhurried thought. They've never sat long with doubt. They've never grown comfortable with discomfort. When you never meet your own questions, they haunt you anyway. This generation is haunted by what they never learned, and those ghosts shape their minds. If we don't pause this pattern, we'll raise generations of quiet thinkers. Not because they choose to be silent, because they can't think. They won't whisper truths, they'll echo lies. They'll parrot illusions, not test them. They'll perform beliefs, not own them. The world will grow loud, with hollow voices. But inside, everything will shrink. That is the cost of raising silent minds. This is not about blaming the young. It's about recognizing the mess we made. It's about seeing the system we handed them. It's about asking, what did we fail at? Because until we own that, we can't fix it. This opening is your invitation to wake up, look close, and question deeply. Because the war for minds begins now. What does it mean to raise a generation that can't think deeply? It means minds built on mirages, not foundations. It means curiosity replaced by reaction. It means life judged by tastes, not by truths. We live with echoes, not ideas. And the problem is systemic, not personal. It's not a failure of a few. It's the result of many decisions. We raise them in this. This generation is not stupid by nature. It is starved of environments where thinking grows. They were given ease, not endurance. They inherit a world that worships quick fixes. We've taught them to settle for superficial comfort, to avoid deep questions. And we pretend it's their fault, it's ours. They rarely ask why. Not because they can't, but because they never believed it mattered. Solutions are outsourced. Thought is outsourced. Authority is outsourced. They've been taught dependency, not autonomy. And that dependency is what breaks thinking. They carry others' answers, not their own. We've invited noise into their souls. Every free moment is filled. Silence is an empty slot to be filled. Their minds never breathe. They've never sat long with a blank page. We denied them the chance to think, so now they only respond. Never originate. They don't understand complexity because they never learned it. Everything becomes binary. Every issue, yes or no. Every position, friend or enemy. Real nuance demands patience, strain, doubt, but we never modeled that. We denied them the vocabulary to navigate gray. We gave them technologies before training. We handed them devices without discipline. We replaced conversations with stream feeds. We replaced mentorship with influencers. We replaced character with clicks, and then we expect character under fire. But you can't demand resilience from hollow roots. They are fragile because we created fragility. They were raised in a cage of distraction, walls covered with screens and sounds. Freedom meant access, not autonomy. But access without agency is prison in disguise. They live wide, not deep. They traverse content, not ideas. They inhabit the ephemeral, not the eternal. And they mistake wandering for wisdom. When the problem is this deep, fixing it will require structural change. But first, we must see the problem clearly. We must stop blaming individuals. Blame obscures responsibility. Responsibility invites change. This generation is not the villain. We, the architects, are. And seeing that is the turning point. One of the biggest culprits is overstimulation. From early childhood, attention is hijacked by digital devices. Games flash, videos autoplay, notifications demand response. The brain is trained to expect reward every few seconds. Curiosity fades because answers arrive too fast, and when things get hard, the instinct is to escape. We didn't teach them to wait. We trained them to swipe. And now they can't stay with a single thought. Social media algorithms are not just distractions. They are design systems. They reward outrage, agreement, and conformity. They create echo chambers that suffocate challenge. Disagreement feels dangerous because it is unfamiliar. Everything becomes filtered through bias reinforcement. They scroll to feel seen, not to be changed. What seems like freedom of expression is actually mental scripting, and most don't even realize it's happening. Education systems once shaped minds. Now they manage outputs. Schools became factories for standardized performance. Curiosity is inconvenient. Questions slow the pace. Students are rewarded for remembering, not understanding. Teachers are overworked, undervalued, and forced to teach the test. We've removed space for reflection and replaced it with pressure. Parenting culture has also shifted drastically. Many parents avoid conflict instead of guiding through it. Kids are protected from failure, not prepared for it. They are given answers instead of invited into questions. We equated love with comfort, but love without truth weakens, and when everything is softened, the mind never sharpens. So they grow up unsure of how to face difficulty. We've normalized constant input and demonized silence. We forgot that boredom is the birthplace of insight. We filled every gap with screens, apps, stimulation, but a mind that never rests, never matures. It reacts instead of reflects. And when reflection disappears, so does self-awareness. They're not lazy. They're overstimulated into paralysis. And that's a form of intellectual decay. Another deep cause is the death of truth-seeking culture. Today, everything is a performance. Opinions are identity. Changing your mind is weakness. Certainty is currency, even when it's fake. But truth requires doubt. It requires time and revision. We trained them to perform, not to pursue. Even language itself has been cheapened. Words are shortened, flattened, emptied. Deep becomes cringe. Smart becomes elitist. Expression becomes trend-driven. They speak in fragments, not arguments. They debate with memes, not ideas. and the deeper meanings of language dissolve. Without language, thought cannot grow. All of this didn't happen overnight. It was layer upon layer, generation after generation. None of it was done out of malice, but from neglect. Neglect of discipline, neglect of reflection, neglect of intellectual heritage. Now we see the effects, and we must begin the work of rebuilding. We've raised a generation with limited tools for deep reasoning. And the first casualty is truth. They don't know how to verify. They don't know how to explore an idea beyond surface. So they believe what sounds good, what feels good, and truth becomes whatever gets the most likes. That's not intelligence, it's conditioning. The next consequence is emotional fragility. When you're not trained to hold conflicting thoughts, you collapse under pressure. Discomfort feels like violence. Confusion feels like failure. Doubt becomes unbearable. They avoid challenge, not out of fear, but from training. And that keeps them small. Critical thinking disappears in this environment. They accept ideas in bulk, without testing. They follow group trends, without clarity. They assume intention where there is none. They confuse confidence with correctness. And when someone disagrees, they feel attacked. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's the erosion of intellectual resilience. We handed them emotion, but withheld structure. Polarization becomes inevitable. When you lose nuance, you only see sides. Everything becomes tribal. You're either with us or against us. This makes real dialogue impossible. It makes society more reactive, less reflective. We taught them how to stand for things, but not how to understand them. So they fight, but don't build. They are deeply connected, but personally isolated. They know how to broadcast, but not how to listen. They live online, but feel unseen. And without connection to others, there's no mirror. No feedback, no shared growth. That isolation feeds anxiety, feeds insecurity, and kills the courage to think freely. Mental health crises explode when meaning is shallow. They are told they can be anything, but given no map. They are promised success, but fear failure. They don't know what matters. They don't know what's real. And that uncertainty creates a deep ache. An ache they fill with noise, but noise is never nourishment. They are easy to manipulate because they want certainty. And certainty is what the loudest voices sell. Propaganda works best on the anxious and unsure. We created a generation starving for clarity, then flooded them with illusions. Now they believe what calms their fear, even if it's false, and that makes them vulnerable. What if the real crisis isn't them? It's us. What if their mental fragility is a reflection of our intellectual laziness? We point fingers, but rarely turn the mirror. We built the culture, we chose the noise, we dismissed philosophy, we outsourced parenting, we didn't lose a generation, we abandoned one. And now we call them broken. That's not reflection, that's projection. Ask yourself, what do you model? Do you read deeply or skim endlessly? Do you engage with disagreement or avoid discomfort? Do you listen or just wait to speak? Do you ask hard questions or repeat what's popular? Because if we want thinkers, we have to be thinkers. They don't need perfection, they need example. This isn't just about brain function, it's spiritual. We've disconnected from meaning, purpose, and stillness. We've replaced reflection with reaction, and in doing so, hollowed ourselves out. Young minds grow in the soil of adult values. If the soil is shallow, the roots won't take. The soul suffers in silence, and we wonder why they're lost. We must stop pretending we're above this problem. The same distractions that broke them seduced us too. We escape in content. We fear stillness. We feel panic when not stimulated. This isn't just their crisis, it's ours too. But we have a chance they don't yet see. We can choose differently. Reflection is the slowest revolution, but the most powerful. It requires no crowd, no speech, no applause, just silence, and the willingness to question what feels safe. What do I believe? Why do I believe it? What do I avoid, and what does that say about me? Without these questions, we're puppets. With them, we become human again. Ask yourself, who profits when you don't think? Who gains when you accept without question? Who benefits when you fear being wrong? The answer isn't abstract, it's real. Corporations, politicians, influencers, they all thrive on your passivity. And that's why reflection is resistance. It breaks the cycle. Don't wait for someone else to change this. You are the culture. You are the system. In your home, your voice, your attention. The future is shaped there. What you tolerate becomes normal. What you question becomes change. What you ignore becomes truth by default. This is where it turns, with you. So here's the challenge. Stop blaming. Start building. Start reading again. Start doubting again. Start listening. Start speaking, not louder, but deeper. This generation doesn't need saving. They need someone to show them how to save themselves. The first step isn't fixing them, it's fixing us. If we want to raise thinkers, we must live as thinkers. That means asking better questions, living slower, and reading deeper. It means resisting the urge to always be right, to model the humility of doubt, to show them that silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Children don't need perfect adults. They need visible ones. Reclaim the home as a place of dialogue, not distraction. Make dinner tables places for questions. Talk about what you're learning, what you're rethinking. Limit screens not as punishment, but as liberation. Reintroduce boredom. It's the gateway to thought. Show them how to listen fully, not just respond. They need to experience real presence. That's where the mind begins to form. Transform education from instruction into inquiry. Bring back philosophy, logic, history with nuance. Let students explore complexity without panic. Don't protect them from ideas. Prepare them for them. Let disagreement happen in safe spaces. Teach how to argue respectfully, not silence opponents. Curiosity should be rewarded, not feared. We must stop mistaking obedience for intelligence. Treat thinking as a muscle. It needs weight, resistance, tension. Ask them to write, not just react. To build arguments, not just memorize facts. To compare perspectives, not just pick sides. This creates flexibility, not fragility. Their minds must stretch to grow. Comfort zones create mental cages. We must restore the role of elders. Not just old people, wise people. Let them tell their stories, failures, contradictions. Show younger generations that truth evolves. Let them see humility in aging, not arrogance. Wisdom isn't just data, it's lived experience.